The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from Amsterdam and across the world online. You're now watching The More Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined with emotions expert John Rushton. Now, John has travelled the globe experiencing many aspects of spiritual life as it's seen and practiced by various cultures. Now, the commonality that John says to all these various wondrous ideologies and understandings is you, no one else. There is no one else out there who can help you, only you. Even if they can throw light onto your plight, it still boils down to you, John says. Now, John broadcasts to over 180 countries and has written several books on emotions. John Rushton, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. Now, I'll link up your previous interview because you've already been on the show previously. And it's not a case... There's been a few past guests coming back on recently where they've done new books. But this isn't the case with yourself. I can't quite remember how we got back in contact with each other, but we felt there was another show that we could record. Now, I've done no prep work on you, purely because I'm just way too busy right now as well, with so much going on. But also because I did it intentionally as well, because I just didn't want to go over the same stuff as we'd covered before. I thought, well, let's just try to flow with this interview and just see where it goes. Now, obviously, a lot of the subjects that we touch on this show are very spiritual, consciousness driven. Let's just get your feelings and thoughts on that to begin with. What's your views on spirituality? Do you believe... No, actually, what's your views on consciousness? Do you feel that we're more than just our mind, that we're a soul in a body having a human experience?
I think we are to a large extent, but I think it goes beyond that. And I think most people, the last few years anyway, I've seen it is people looking for something else. They think there's more to it than that. And there possibly, technically there is, but as a human being living a life and having to make it pay and eat and sleep and drink and enjoy and keep your mental health together, there's something, a lot of people are looking for which is outside of that. And there isn't. It's all within you. You live in your mind like a tortoise lives in its shell. It doesn't live anywhere else. It's no good looking for another shell somewhere because it's never going to inhabit that shell. You live in your mind. And if you don't accept that, and you think there's some bright, wonderful, marvelous person out there who has an answer for you or your problems, they may have some solutions and some advice, but at the end of the day, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And I've met more people who seem to have given up or are giving up or want to go somewhere. Oh, they have this. Have you seen this person? Have you heard that person? There are fabulous, marvelous people all around the world who have wonderful things to say and they've wonderful experiences, but that's about them and not you. And because somebody else did something doesn't mean you can do it. It's like all these books, how to make £1 million overnight, how to do this, how to do that, make yourself rich for nothing. I came from a broken background. I was beaten every day for 35 years and now I'm a multi-billionaire. Yes, but there's a thing called a timeline. And the timeline is that it happened to you then, there, with your mindset, in those conditions, in those situations, with the people around you, and that is not transposable to you. That's just a story. A good one. It could be uplifting, it could be very spiritual, it could be all of those things, but it's still not you. You have your own story and your own pathway. And that's where I think my sort of understanding of consciousness comes in, is what do you understand about yourself?
Yeah, because to get into that deeper part of yourself, or that calling, to get into what is... Okay, let's put the problems to one side. We'll get into that in a minute. We've all got issues, right? And that's, I guess, a majority of your clients that come see you, coming to see you to heal an issue. But to get into that, to connect to the soul allows you, I think personally, to listen to your intuition. When you're listening to your intuition, I think it's beyond the mind. I think it's some deeper part of the soul that's talking to you, and soul's just a word for something that's just completely unexplainable, really, on this level. But we know we're greater than our body, and it's getting into that intuitive side. And saying, okay, what is it I'd love to do? Where is my passion, my purpose, my drive? And also listening to that inner consciousness side as well allows, and I'm just putting that tag on it because that's how I understand it. You listen to that consciousness side as well, that intuition, that knowing. It also allows you to make decisions in a sense. Is this right for me? Does it feel right? Can I employ my logical mind and the intuitive side together? And what do I come up with? And most of us want to be told what to do, told what to think, told where to go, how and never take responsibility for ourselves. There's always an outside answer. Now, you just mentioned there some of the gurus out there, or the self-help people, or whatever it may be, Eckhart Tolle, whatever. Yeah, yes, it's their own personal journey, but I think a lot of that material does help people, like coming back to present moment, which a lot of people speak about now. I think with any guru or teacher, it's like, which teacher do you resonate with? You can't resonate with all of them, really. No. Which one's the main one you resonate with? You can take truths from other people, but when you say you've got to find your own truth, I think these teachers do help, though, to push it in that direction.
I agree with you. Yes, they do help push you into the direction, but I think a lot of people want a bit more than that. They understand what they listen to, but they're still looking for that magic word. If only I had this, if only I had that little key, if only well, of course you do, but if you keep looking outside, you'll never find it inside. And I think that's one of the things which I seem to see with a lot of people. And as you rightly say, a lot of people are sheep. Well, I did it because they did it. Well, they're all doing it. Well, it's said on the news last night, and it's all about other people. It's nothing to do with you. What somebody else did, what somebody else said, whether you agree with them or not, is immaterial. The fact is, it seems to be the current trend, doesn't it? So what? What has that got to do with you? And it's this current trend, and they said, and the media said, because the media's all hyped up, it's all biased, it's all got a story to tell from its own volition, where it wants to go, and that's nothing to do with you. Your story is yours. It's an original from you. It'll never be done again or anything else, and you can't take what somebody else has done, and you may be living a parallel course to somebody else, but that doesn't guarantee you anything at all other than the fact you're living a parallel course to somebody else. It's still down to you. And it's this, are you really going to buckle up and actually buckle down and listen to yourself? And I think you rightly said also, it's that intuition. Do you know right from wrong? Well, yes, but everybody else did it, so I'm doing it. But still, do you know right from wrong? Do you know what your internal sort of organs and things were telling you? Did you feel comfortable? I know, but everybody's doing this. So I thought, well, I'll have a go as well. And there you have your answer, why they don't get any further in life, because they just won't trust themselves.
Yeah, and there's so many people I know who would only go with a logical mind, never embrace that intuitive side, and they seem to make one wrong decision after another sometimes, because it's one fear-based decision based on another fear-based decision.
Yes, it is. And I think, again, what you said is true, that, and when you listen to them, it's, I don't know where I'm going wrong in life. It always seems an uphill struggle. Everybody else seems to get on well, except me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And you've just listened to 10 minutes of it. Everything you've said and done is wrong. Why don't you do something what you want to do and stop saying yes to everybody else and say yes to yourself? Say no to other people. Don't disadvantage yourself. There's a big difference between being selfish and self-centered and taking charge of your life. And very few people know what that difference is. And they think because they put everybody ahead of them, it's called love. No, it's not. It's putting everybody ahead of you and putting yourself down. And it's all this kind of thing. They're getting so confused with words and what it means and what you have to do that they don't follow what's in here, what's in their heart. And if they did, they'd understand that, putting people ahead and doing this and doing that and permanently disadvantaging yourself in life will mean you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to stay put. And if you're second best, you can't help somebody up to the first position because you can't pull them that far. They're going to overtake you. And so you've got to be in a position where you feel very comfortable in what you do. And when you do feel comfortable, it gives you that marvelous feeling inside that you understand. You may not understand everything, but you just understand. It's that comprehension about life.
What if we look at this from another perspective as well, that maybe this universe is conscious, and maybe, I was reading some articles recently on this simulated universe and how some scientists are really putting their time and getting funding to look at this. I mean, it's unanswerable, but
Yes.
science is still taking an interest in it. That, God, if that was the case, that would mean that this universe maybe plays fairly, and actually we create the situations that we're in because thoughts are more powerful than we possibly could even imagine, and most people won't give that any credence. I don't know what you think of that.
Well, I mean, the most common thing of all that is that the battered wife syndrome. We do it again and again and again and again and again. It's like deja vu on an endless loop until one day you may wake up and think, what am I doing? That's enough. Well, that's probably a very simplistic explanation, but it happens. And most people actually follow the same pattern in life. And you get entrepreneurs that break the mold. They do this, they do that, and certain people that in fashion and design, they break the mold. Certain people in the arts, they break the mold. And you can't do that. Excuse me, why? Well, you can't. You just don't do it. And that is part and parcel of the problem. It's the onlookers being threatened or being put out from their sort of sheep-like understanding of life, as opposed to saying, okay, well, you must do what you feel. And there's a lot of that. There's particularly a lot of that in government as well. They hate people who are totally creative because it puts them at a disadvantage. But and the same with the press as well. They like people to make a fool of themselves and be successful. And they like also the story when they make a wrong move and they fall down, they can follow them as well. So they've got two stories from the price of one. And it's all contrived and devised and everything else. And I think this is part and parcel of life. You either lap into it or you run your own course and you have your own understanding and you just watch what everybody else is doing and listen to but it's a bit Teflon coated in your mind. It just comes in and goes off and you still do what you want to do. And that makes a big difference to the real thinkers and movers and shakers in life and the rest, or the wannabes.
Okay, but does that really answer my question on law of attraction in a sense? Okay, simple question then. Well, no, not... Okay, do you believe that thoughts are powerful creators?
I do definitely, because without a thought, there's no deed to follow.
Right. So when we have these negative thoughts, and you've said a lot of them there, what some common thoughts are for people, because you get people coming to see you, obviously, and when you've put a thought out there that I'm not good enough, I'll never be rich, or I'm so broke right now, or whatever it may be. I mean, I'm using lots of money terms there, or I just don't feel lovable right now, or no one's going to want to be with me. You put those thoughts out, and I'm sure that's what the universe gives you back to experience. It's like it's almost like the universe is a mirror.
Well, it is. And in fact, you would be amazed at the people around you who are also mirrors, because if you go around even to sort of associates or acquaintances, not necessarily your best friend, but acquaintances, and you say, oh, I'm so broke. Oh, I don't know. I always have problems with relationships. that it sticks in their mind. So when they talk about you, and not necessarily talk about behind your back, someone else asks about you in so-and-so, oh yes, same story, they're always broke, bad relationship problems. And you're generating now this sort of auric ambience around you, which is completely and utterly negative. And people keep away from you after a while. They don't want to be with you. Because sometimes if you actually create a lot of this negativity, you become an emotional vampire. All you do is talk about negative things, and you find somebody who will listen to you because it makes you feel good, and you drain their energy. And eventually you're on your own, and then you get other problems like loneliness and mental health problems because you don't talk to people, you don't get a decent conversation, and it just goes on and on and on. And the people who actually have positive thoughts, no matter where you are in life, do actually get a better treatment and do get better help than those that are negative, because there are lots of positive things which come out of that, and people get a benefit from helping you, where you don't get much benefit from helping negative people because they don't give you anything back. And so why, if you have the choice of helping a negative person and a positive person in the same situation, you help the positive person because it's fun. You're actually getting something from yourself. You're actually growing together, and they're sort of bumping off on you what they're doing. Well, the negative person just sits there and accepts and takes and takes and takes and takes, and then goes, and that's it. So that's your choice.
No, that's so true, so true. And it's so difficult to get yourself out of a rut sometimes. I mean, if you're feeling very down, or whatever for whatever scenario that's caused it, God, it's you have to get yourself out somehow. You have to, just realize that the only way is to feel and realize that you are the answer for what you were looking for all the time. It's like, I think any good psychic really will push it back to you in a sense that, it's up to you. Yes, there's these potential futures that are there for sure, but it's nothing set in stone. You've still got to choose it, right? So the answer lies within. How do we get to that space to want to listen to our intuition, to know that it's our intuition that's talking? Will it be the most joyous kind of like answer in a sense? Oh, that feels right. That just feels so good. If we've cut our own arsehole off in a sense, do you know what I mean? From listening to our feelings, and we've always been in the head, how does someone get back to embracing the feelings? And I am one as well, as mentioned before, that you need the mental side as well. You need the logical side. It's almost kind of like embracing both.
It's very difficult because, how do you instill to somebody the positive side of life when all they want to do is look at the negative? They listen to it, but they don't hear it. They understand it, but they don't want to go there because they're in their comfort zone. Being negative is comfortable to them. It's not very nice, but it's comfortable. They can cope. They know what to do. They've got the sub stories. They've got the long version, the short version, the abridged version, the extended version. They've got everything, and they've got all of these things. So it's very, very difficult. I mean, I've even seen people who go to these events where just to raise your spirits and things like this, and it's amazing because he's coming over next year. We'll go to the next one. And what have you done throughout the whole of the year? And they look at you and say, well, it was good. We felt really good when we'd been to see him or her or whatever, and it was really marvelous and inspirational and all this kind of. I said, yes, but what have you done? What difference has it made to your life? And it depends. You go there and you get somebody who walks on stage, particularly if it's for a sort of American sort of type of thing, and he said, "Hi everybody, isn't it wonderful to be here? And you know why it's good to be here? Because you're here and I'm here for the same thing. Woo, 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 woo." And everybody's sort of clapping and screaming and shouting, and they're raising the energy. And at the end of the evening, yes, you can take on the world. You can be another Microsoft, you can be another Intel, you can be anything you want. It's all there. And you go to your little flat or your house, and You go inside and everything's the same, it smells the same, it looks the same, you go into the same bed, you get up in the same morning. And what's happened? What's changed? Nothing. Unless you change, unless you make that move. It's all right having inspirational meetings and reading books on doing this and doing that and getting hints and tips. And also these hints and tips are good. They're very valid. It's what you could or should do. But, at the end of the day, there are some people who will make some difference to their lives, but there are a lot of people who will never, ever make a difference to their life because there's something which is preventing them, whatever it is. I don't know, it's all our circumstances. And I think we've just got to understand that we can help quite a few people. We can't help everyone. And, having traveled around the world many, many times to just about every continent and country and what, you see positive nations which actually have breakthroughs in doing medical science, technology, aviation, pharmaceuticals. They've got goodness knows what things coming out, Silicon Valleys and everything. It's just amazing what's coming out. And other countries, zilch. Absolutely nothing. All they do is buy from those countries that make it. And the Middle East is one. They've got billions and billions and billions and trillions and goodness knows what amounts of money. And they give nothing to the world. Oil isn't anything they give. It was there before they moved on it. So what is the mentality of people there? Why aren't they some of the world's best producers of this or designers or creators? Nothing. They buy all their cars, their aircraft, their phones from everybody else. You buy nothing from the Middle East at all, or very little. It's a mental thing. It's an approach to where you've come from in life. And when you're with people in a creative environment, you too become creative. That's maybe true. Not to so an amazing extent, but you do.
That's true. Yeah, you do. When you surround yourself with different people, yeah, that's so true. You do enter a different energy. Yes. I've still got to go back to. I'm still going to push this. I think we create our own reality. I really am starting to believe in that. Now, that's my truth, but it's helped me a lot.
And mine.
Is it yours as well? Is that right?
Absolutely, totally and utterly. Totally and utterly.
Yeah. So therefore, we can create the reality we want. It's most times when we come back from as you've said, a motivational conference or something like that. Best you can be, whatever it may be. It may even be a psychic reading you've had from in front of an audience. Yes. Let's give you some hints on what's possible, right? Yes. It is true that you've really got to want it. You've really got to. You actually may be quite happy in the misery.
Yes. A lot of people are.
Yeah. And let's face it, if you just look at what's going on in America right now and other places, fear is addictive.
It is.
Very addictive. And to come out that space is not easy. But, do you find that the clients that come see you have just had enough? They just cannot take it no more. They're at their wits' end in which direction to turn.
I do, and it's amazing because I do see a cross section. I see people who are immensely wealthy, and some of them are incredibly famous as well. People who are down to a more mundane level in life. But I think most of the people who see me are quite positive. They just come to that sort of egg timer thing a little bit in the middle where it's not running properly and they just want it soothing out or flattening out or something. But they've come to a bit of an impasse and they need some clarity. And the clarity doesn't take long. Most cases I see people once and once only. I hear from them again, but there are all this business. Oh, I'll see you every week for the next 3 months. At X pounds or dollars or euros or what. I think it's a fallacy. Because a lot of people I meet who practice what they're supposed to do are more screwed up than some of their patients or clients, and they feed off their clients. I know that because I go to some of these meetings, and I see them, and I talk to them, and I question them, and they don't say anything. They just stare at you as if they're sort of, turned into a gargoyle or something. And I think it's a lot of the people, they just need a little bit of a push. And even the sort of the most insecure people I see just need a little bit of a push. Sometimes it's just that pat on the back and say, well, what is wrong? I don't see anything wrong. You're wonderful. And they look at you and they smile and say, well, nobody's ever said that to me. And you think, well, you just created a 450 million pound empire.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever said that. And the answer is no, they haven't.
Do you think the majority of unhappy people are, in some respects, are because of the attachment to the outcome of what they want? So, for example, they want to start a new business, and they are attached to that it's going to be so magnificent, loads of money, it's going to, help loads of people and all this. And by attaching to the outcome, that's where the issue lies, where really all they should be is, how does it feel to do this business? Does it feel the right thing to do without any attachments? Because as soon as we can become attached to something and the outcome, because we want it to be a certain way, that's when we get so screwed up and so despondent with it and lose all faith in it in the end, and it never turns out to be a success.
Partly, I think if you do have that kind of vision, you may want to be very successful. But a lot of successful people don't think about cars and Rolex watches.
That's my point. They're not attached. Yeah.
No, they're not. And if you do have attachment, it usually boils down to ego or arrogance. You need to prove something because you haven't got it already within you, so you need to buy it into it. And I think it was Gandhi that said it's the weak and the ignorant are the most dangerous people on the planet, because they will never forgive or forget, and they won't let you go any further. And I think that's very true. It is the sheep which are in fact more dangerous than those that have a little learning, because I know you can get one or two renegades that fly off, but most people who have some understanding of life and they see you doing something, they may have a little twinge of jealousy that you're doing it, but they will understand why you're doing it. And deep down they'll think, yes, good for you, good, you're doing it. Whereas those further down the food chain don't often think like that. Everything is, it's all right for him, it's all right for her, it's this, I'm keeping myself here, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, there's nothing wrong with you at all. You can stay there for the rest of your life. Nobody cares, because it's your life. Everybody has something called their own life, which has nothing to do with you or anybody else. And so when people do that, they pull people down. So that's what we were saying earlier on. When you're with positive people, you suddenly break free. And you suddenly start to see and feel and hear and taste something, which is rather exciting.
No, absolutely. I think that's a key thing we're just going to put here with this interview is, something I've learned as well is do not be attached to the outcome. Even if, and this could be in a relationship wise as well, just do not, as soon as you get attached and, this is the one I'm going to marry and, bloody kids and everything else. It's so difficult not to get attached on the outcome, but I'm telling you now from what I've learned that when you don't and you just be in the moment, it's the best thing ever. And another great thing I've learned, this is all keys to happiness in a sense. There's just things that we'll all learn along our path, I hope. This isn't some sort of watch interview you're going to watch and feel loads better. This is trying to bring over mine and your truth, in the sense of what do you feel that when you just flow and when you if something's not working out or you just in present moment, you just doing your thing, you're not worried about the future and you're not living in the past. That's what I call present moment, being here now. I'm not worried about the future or living in the past. Then as we've talked about in this interview, this you are the answer. That is, you are the answer. That's a big part of it.
I think so. One of the things I say to a lot of people is when they tell me about this, in fact, when people start talking, all they tell you is about everybody else. and they and he and she and whatever, and on this and that. And I say, yes, but okay, what about you? And they stare at you in the air. And they're having to recall it all. And I think one of the things is, if you can let go, it gives you more strength, more power than anything else. Because then, if you let go, you're not tied to anybody or anything. You can do what you want. And so, I'm frightened, or if they don't like me, or this happens, or if I don't turn up there, or I don't. And it's always about something else. If you let go, it gives you this immense sort of power and freedom to do what you want to do, which is very important, because if you don't do what you want to do, what is the purpose of your life? You're herding yourself into the sheepfold. If you, well, I have to, and I must, and I can't, and I won't, and I shouldn't, and I don't, and all this kind of thing, and you just bring it down. And a lot of that, one of the things I said to people, if you died tonight or you broke your leg, would the show stop? And the answer is no. It would still go on with or without you. So you've now got the freedom to do what you want. So don't take any notice from anybody else. Say, well, if you don't turn up, everybody's going to be disappointed. You're going to let everybody down. Millions of people are going to be starving. The world's going to come to an end in 3 days. Rubbish. It's all their bombastic selfishness coming out and putting it on you. And of course, you accept it and, I feel guilty and all this business. If you let go and say, okay, let it happen. Next. And then what is that person going to do now? They have to go and find some other solution. And of course, there are other solutions, but you're the easy option, and you're not going to be the easy option. You're going to be the prime number. You're not going to be second best anymore. You're not going to be, well, at the end of the day, there's always him, always her, or whatever. You're not going to be that. I'm not going to be the end of the day. If you can't judge me from day one or put me onto the A list, I don't want to be on the B, C, D, or E list, wishing and waiting and hoping. Forget that. I have something called a life, and I'm not waiting for you, because that's it's just not going to work.
That's right.
And so once you actually put people in charge of their lives, they look at it differently, and they look at other people differently, and they speak differently, and they speak with much more determination, and they feel better in themselves, because yes, I can do that, and no, I don't. I'm not doing that. And it's not a case of sort of putting yourself in the comfort zone all the time, because you don't. You break free, and you're still a good person. You do nice things for the people and all that, but you're not going to be made sort of a scapegoat or second best or all of these things. You're going to be exactly who you are, and people will love you for that. And when they do, the world will change significantly, and you will change your vibration with yourself, with other people. People will pick up from you. People around you will pick up from you. Even, as we said earlier on, your thought process, even when that's more positive, things will happen beyond your comprehension. You'll get a phone call or something will happen. Excuse me, I'm so-and-so. I just found your name. Someone just recommended you. All of a sudden it starts to happen.
Because you're in your vortex. You're in your vortex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing is, remember, you have a right to be here. Some people forget that. They think, well, what's my life worth? What contribution? It doesn't matter. You had a right to be here. You just have to believe that you are so important. You had a right to be here, and try not to forget that. And also, do you think as well that when to answer the question of listening to our own internal self, do you think as well that some people are just so into themselves, if they just turned it round and actually were of service to others in whatever they're trying to do, that's the most fulfilling thing you could ever do?
Totally, because this is what humanity is all about. It's part of the human chain, who we are, we help each other. And there's that universal thing called love. Because without love, you're nothing. You're a robot. So that's a difference which puts us in between. If you don't have this and help, you don't have to be, a Mother Teresa and anything like that. You do things in your way for what people. You can't help everybody all the time, but you can help a few significantly.
Yes.
And it's not just a financial thing. It could be your time, your thought, your experience, your understanding, just listening. as an art in itself, because most people listen with the thought of actually returning, the conversation. It's just doing something in that respect.
That is so, so true. I mean, you could be just, yeah, that's right. You may be a mother. That's a service, right? You may be an employee with a few people working with you. Well, maybe you're going to be of service to your customers and your employees. Yeah.
Yes.
It could be. It doesn't need to be big. This is the thing, and that this is the key to changing the world. Sometimes we're coming from this different perspective. If we all just came from this perspective overnight, the world would change so quickly. But there's a lot of addictions out there, and fear's one of them. And you can see that in the media, most definitely, especially in American media right now.
Oh.
But that's all okay. That's all okay. It's where it's needed. You can't. As we just said, you can't change the world. You can only change yourself. But the world is going through a crisis right now. You can see that most definitely. There is something going on, something brewing. And
I think it's a metamorphosis.
Yes, metamorphosis maybe. Yes. There's something happening.
Growing pains. And I think it eventually will come to something called the tipping point. But you've got to get there. And when you getting to that tipping point is going to be very, very difficult.
Yes. And there, at that point, people will be asking and going inward much more, probably. So what are some of the initial things we can do to get there? I mean, okay, so someone's listening to this now and they're like, or watching this and they're like, well, yeah, okay, I hear you, but how do I get there? How do I listen to myself? Or as Kevin calls it, that intuitive part, or as John calls it, the emotional part. How do we get there?
I think first of all, you've got to take a look at where you are in life. I mean, and try and put a list, not necessarily sort of tabulate them, but just in your own mind of where you are. What is troubling you at the moment? And just think about all these things. And it could be, some of the sort of biggies like finance or relationships or health or whatever. And then you think, well, what am I doing to overcome these or to make good or whatever? And then after that, what is it that's actually making you or stopping you from enjoying life? Are the people around you or the area you live in or whatever? But don't blame the area where you live in, because some people will say, well, it's all right, you've got lots of friends, but there's nobody around where I live. No, there are only about 4 million people where you live, so I'm sure you won't find anybody in all that. And so it's just this endless excuses which come up time and time again. But if you don't leave your house, you'll never find anybody, because nobody's going to sort of knock on your door and say, hello, are you lonely? It's not going to happen. So you've got to do something. So you've got to understand where you're coming from in life and go out and do something. Do it online if you're frightened of meeting people face to face. Phone, do something. Oh, I'm not phoning them. They didn't phone me last time. It's their turn to phone me. So fine, some people are good communicators, some people are not. But if you want to communicate, you've got to communicate. So it means picking up the phone. Because if you do talk to somebody, the chances are they know somebody and you may get on with that person as well. Then you have 2 people and then 3. You have to increase it. You have to do something. As we started out this conversation, beginning of the program, there is not that magical person out there waiting for you to come and suddenly wave their wand and say, right, this is it. This is the magical phrase to do. This is the chant to say, and all will be well. It doesn't exist either. This is all down to you. Because even if that person did exist and said, well, there are 1,000 friends waiting for you around the corner. Oh, I'm not going out to talk to people I don't know. And so it's back to you. So it is down to you. And you've got to sort of look at this and just think, okay, I have to do something. What can I do, first of all, which is comfortable, not breaking my comfort zone, which I feel just to get me going, and then we'll take it from there. But just do something.
Yes, that's so true. So true. So what is it that you do as well for clients? I mean, how can someone get in contact with yourself? I mean, and just for those listening to a podcast version, because your website's on the screen, just give us your website as well.
It's www.johnrushton.com.
Okay.
That's the website.
Yeah. And so what do you? Yeah. How? What do you offer people? What sort of help? What sort of services do you do?
I think I offer people happiness and peace of mind. Um, because if you're happy, you know what you're doing, you know where you're going. It doesn't mean life's going to be fabulous. It doesn't mean I can solve all your problems. You know, I have no magic wand to your health, your finances, or anything else, or whatever. But if it makes you happy and puts you back where you need to be, and as I say, some of these people are incredibly well healed and they still need a bit of a push, or they still need that proverbial arm round their shoulder to say, come on, you're okay, you know. And they do need that as much as anybody else. And it makes a world of in fact, sometimes I won't, but if it was a kiss and tell story, it'd be just amazing of some of the people and what they've said to me. And I sometimes think, I don't need to know this, but they tell you anyway. Please, and don't tell me anymore. No, I've started. I want to tell you. But it's everybody. Everybody needs that little something, and I believe what I give the people who see me, that little something, because you only need that one little digit to win the lottery. You know, you only need a small key to drive your big expensive car. It's not the major things. It's only the small pin to burst a big balloon. It's not magic. It's just bang. And it's the smallest little pin to, you know, burst the biggest balloon. And if you can give somebody that ability, that little bit of that little pin to burst their balloon, to think, wow, it's a great world outside there. That's all they need. And off they go and they feel happy. And you can see them smile. And they're still smiling when they leave you.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
And that's over. Can you do this over Skype as well, or is it more face to face?
99% is face to face.
Okay.
I have done it over Skype, yes, but there is some kind of magic when you're with somebody.
Yes, of course. And you know, you've done 6 books on emotions in general, yes. And that's a lot of material. Did you ever see yourself getting into this work? I mean, did this sort of what triggered this for you to take this path for you?
Well, millions of years ago, when I was young, slim, and beautiful, and traveling the world for major corporations, and I was, you know, one day I'd be in Australia, then in India, then in Africa, then South America, the States, and I was just non-stop. And I was actually sorting out people on a corporate level, and I was the last resort. They had the accountants there to see about sort of financial irregularities. They had the marketing people to see if their marketing was all right, and everything appeared to be okay. So they sent me to try and find out to see if and this was just a long shot for my boss said, John, you go. He was so frustrated about not finding out why some of the subsidiaries and overseas companies weren't doing what they should be doing when the finances were okay and the marketing seemed to be okay and whatever. And so I went and I had to make a story up. And I went and I used to fly, and I was very fortunate. I used to fly first class. And so the people I used to see think, oh, he's quite important. Of course I was. And I used to get there and I used to make so I'm researching new products for the company and what you want and everything. Oh, yes, that's interesting. Oh, that's nice. And so I was to some extent, but I was also talking to the people, and the MD and his wife used to take me out for dinner, and maybe one or two of the other people used to go out for dinner, and I used to take some of the managers out, and then probably take some of the guys on the factory floor out for a drink or whatever. And within 72 hours, I knew exactly the state of the company, because everybody tells you. I knew everything about the company. And I'd go back and I'd tell my boss, and he said, that's it. And he just said, that's it, I know it, that's it, John, that's what we need. And from that moment on, I was going to this company, that company, and goodness knows where. And it works. It's just people. It's just talking to people. And if you talk to people in a decent, wholesome way, they will talk back to you. If you talk at people, they won't, because they feel like they're going to start sparring or they give up and they don't want to bother. So and basically that's how it came about, that I started doing this for myself. Just one of those sort of natural progression. And I really enjoy doing it as well, because at the end of the day, you do see people happy, which is self-rewarding, I suppose.
Well, it's very much as we've said before, well, as I've said before as well. Giving back and being of service. It very much is, and it's a natural progression. For us all to want to do this. I think at some point in our life to be of service. Once we've gone through a bit ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's so. If we were just a bit stuck right now, whatever it is we may be stuck in, we just sit there quietly and just breathe maybe and just ask a question, just listen to what comes through our body in a sense, how does that feel? It must be difficult for some people to feel. It really must be. Some people are not very good feelers, are they? They're all logical. I've said this before in the interview.
It is difficult. I'm not a good person at sitting still. I'm a fidgeter. I've got to be up doing something, going somewhere, talking to somebody. I don't necessarily have to have lots of conversations, but I have to do something. I can't meditate. I find it very, very difficult. Most stupid things come into my mind and they stay there for ages. And I tried yoga years and years ago, and I just couldn't manage doing that at all. Everybody else was somewhere else, and I was still sat with aches and pains in my knees and arms and legs, and looking at everybody else whilst they were eyes closed and doing whatever they do, and I couldn't do it. But I think you've got to do what it is for you. If it means going and having a drink with some friends, or for a pizza, or a chat, or having someone around for a coffee, then do it. Get into your comfort zone. Get into a place where you can have a laugh together. Get into a place where you can say silly things to each other, make a fool of yourself. It doesn't matter. You're with friends. I'm not saying you've got to make a fool of yourself, but do whatever is comfortable, because the moment you start to feel comfortable in an environment, your whole metabolism changes. Sort of your structure, your atomic structure changes. What we feed into ourselves, stress and all these things, are killers. We get all kinds of disease, heart disease, mental health disease, from stress and strain and anxiety. Get out of that. Just do something at some point, or some points during the week. Meet someone for lunch, have coffee, do whatever it is, what you want to do, where you want to go, but do it. Make sure you do it. It doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, hailing, goodness knows what. It doesn't matter. You're not going to die. Just do it. Get there. Do it. Because when you get into that comfort zone and that happy mode, you start to think, that was a really lovely evening, and you have a good sleep, and you think, then you go back to where you were and you think, I'm fed up of this. I was all right last night, but I've come back to this. And it may not be work, it may be something else. But therefore, you know the difference, and then you can make the changes between those differences.
Yeah, that's just so important. Thank you so much for sharing some of your work there as well, because it's it's the little things sometimes. This may seem little to some people, but to others, this is massive.
It is.
Yeah. So it's great what you're saying. It really is, and I think this interview was really based on how to go within that. Within all the answers lie. That no matter what book you read, whatever you're watching, whatever self-help motivational show you go to, I think they're all great, don't get me wrong, but whatever you're doing, really, in the end of the day, it's down to you. Are you willing to change your life? Are you willing to take some risks? Are you willing for some doors to open if you do? Most people will say they are, but it takes time to get to that point. Some people are willing to take that risk, and you see some of these YouTube videos where people have taken risks and it paid off. These real stories. Yeah.
Some people, when they tell their story, and as I say, you see some of the YouTube videos, and people have gone through hell and high water, and all of a sudden it's paid off. And then, at the same time, it is inspirational, but it can make people quite sort of despondent, and they go, gosh, I couldn't do that. I'd never be able to do that.
That's true.
And they lock themselves in then from doing anything, because they're equating that this person had gone through hell and high water, and not only could they not do it, they'd never get even to the situation where they got anywhere near it. And so therefore they're stopping themselves. But you mustn't, because what you do is not the same as what somebody else would do. And some people have a different journey. Have a different journey, you know, as to what they do. And their journey may not be as rugged, but it still is, to them, quite something. So you mustn't stop yourself because somebody else has done something which seemingly is sort of like Tarzan-like. You do what you need to do because that is your pathway, and it's where your destiny lies, down your pathway, not theirs.
Yeah, that's so true, John. You know, you're not here to live someone else's life. It's like copying the same kind of videos of your favorite YouTuber because you like their videos, so you'll copy what they do because then it will work for you. Bullshit. No, it won't. You've got to do your thing. And yeah, that's yeah. It's so important for you to be yourself and not be bothered about what others think as well.
No. Forget what others think. That is their thoughts and their conversations about you. That's part of their journey. It's nothing to do with your journey.
No.
Stop listening to other people. Live your life. Do what you want to do. It doesn't mean you can't hear what they say, but that's part of... Because when people give you a comment, it includes their inferiorities, their insecurities, their phobias, and all their negative bits. Hence, they're giving you a comment. And those facets have nothing to do with you at all, in any shape or form, even if it's your mum and dad. You are unique. You are an individual. You are not part of the grand collective in that respect. You're part of humanity. You will never be manufactured again like you are now. Just follow your pathway, because that's where everything lies, down your pathway, nowhere else.
I mean, some people probably get a bit scared that, oh God, you know, I don't want to look back on my life and am I going to regret everything? You know, I don't think, again, I would say that kind of thinking is out of present moment and it's not going to help you. You can't worry about the future. All you can worry about is now. If you're putting something off in your lifetime right now because you think it's going to affect you in the future and you really want to do it now, do you think that you should not be doing it now? And actually worrying about what it might affect the future is not even in the reality right now. But do you know what I mean? We can live this way sometimes.
We can, but we have to do it. You just have to do it. And you have to do it for you. You really have to do it for you.
Yeah.
Because your life is all about you. It's not your parents or your partner or your children or anything else. It's not that you're making them second best. If you're not number one in your life, who are you? Who are you as a person? You've got to be there to do it. Because nobody else will ever do it for you. Nobody else can ever walk in your shoes. Nobody else can ever think the way you do. Nobody else ever has access to all the little foibles and bits and pieces in your mind that make you this fabulous, unique person. And if you're suppressing those, you're not doing yourself any favours. You've got to do it for you. And forget what other people think or say. That's probably a jealousy thing from their point of view, or why they haven't done it themselves. Because you'll get very, very few successful or entrepreneurial people will ever talk you down. They'll say, yes, you go for it. You go for it, because they've been there. They've been beaten up and pushed down and trodden on and jumped on and let down and goodness knows what. But they're here smiling and saying, yeah, it was, wow, what a journey. You know, as opposed to getting to a ripe old age full of regrets and not doing anything. And so many of the people who have been grossly successful, and most of them you never hear. You only hear one or two of the big impresarios. But there are so many successful people out there who are just thinking, wow, I'm so glad I took that move, that step. And they failed, because failure is an adjunct to success. If you don't fail, you don't succeed. You know, if you don't fail, you don't know what goes wrong. You don't know how to cope. You don't know what to do. Failure, and that's another thing. People are frightened of the word failure. There's nothing wrong with failure. Failure means you're trying. If you don't fail, it means you're doing nothing. And if you do nothing, you're a moron. What is your existence?
What is it worth? What do you mean? Nothing. You're absolutely rubbish. You've got to do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Pat yourself on your own back if you have to, because later everybody else will pat you on the back. And you say, okay, well, fine. I'm so pleased I did this.
And
do it for you.
If you're not too sure what to do, come from the space of being of service. Just go out there and do something of service. And then maybe from doing that, it will lead you to somewhere you need to be, which is what you were looking for in the first place. Or maybe it's a few rows down the corner. But do live your passion. Do what that. If you want to really understand what it is right now you should be doing, just say to yourself what it is that really turns me on right now. And once doing it, if it's not the thought that you thought it was, if it's not what you think it is, it'll transform into something else, or something else will come from it, and then that will lead you on.
Absolutely. You're so right. If you go out, somebody or something will cross your pathway. You will find something somewhere. It will be out there, but it won't be in your front room at home watching TV 24/7, complaining and making excuses. It's not going to happen. You've got to do something, because if you do something, something will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say then, John, is a sort of important message to the audience then? Or what would you say is one of the most important messages of your work as well? It could just be something very simple.
Whatever it is that makes you happy, strive for it. Because if what makes you happy is within your remit, then you will find all the bits that don't make you happy, eliminate them, take them away. I mean, we can't have a perfection. There are some things which you may have to do in life which you don't like, but you know you have to do them, fine. But by and large, a lot of the stuff is within your control. And so if you think things are not making you happy, or you know things are not making you happy, which includes people around you, well, they're all right, but, well, I've nobody else to talk to. I talk to them, but they're always negative, getting me down. Stop it. Stop it making excuses. Find somebody. It's not always the easiest thing, but you will find them. But by not doing anything, you will never find anybody at all. Just change all the things that make you unhappy, and you will find that all the things that make you happy then come into the fore, and life will be 1,000 times better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, oh gosh, I don't know when we're going to touch base again, but John Rushton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always a pleasure.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.